panel is about psychology. And so psychology के साथ में जो मेरा पहला सवाल है, should I start with my first question? It is for all of you. So आजकल अगर हम बात करते हैं, we talk about depression, we talk about mental health. तो पहले के टाइम पे it was like nobody used to talk about it because they were very afraid कि लोग मुझे पागल समझेंगे, लोग मेरे बारे में क्या कहेंगे. But times have changed. People have started posting about their mental health on social media. They are very open about this topic. And with the course of time, कई सारे लोग ऐसे भी हैं जो mental health crisis को ना अपनी daily life stress के साथ relate कर लेते हैं. But there's a huge difference between a daily stress and a mental health crisis. So what according to you is the actual difference? मतलब ये इस चीज के बारे में आपके क्या thoughts हैं? What would you like to say about this? Sir, starting with you.
Hello. Let's get a mic.
Hello. 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 I think. Can we increase the volume of this mic?
Can you hear me at the back there? I don't think so.
No. Can we please fix the mics?
Hello.
So this one, is it working?
Are you able to hear? So you can take my mic.
Oh. Thank you. So I think this one is working. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Vadodara. I cannot resist. सबने उरी तो देगी रखी है, right? If I ask you, how's the Josh? रुक जाओ, एक second. I'm going to ask you, and what will you say? Hi, sir, right? And this should shake. Okay? So, how's the Josh? How's the Josh? How's the Josh? I'm convinced now. Thank you. So, I want to start with a caveat. We will, all of us, with whatever little experience we have, we'll share gyan with you. I'll try not to share gyan. I'll try to tell you stories. Caveat ये है, जो अच्छा लगे ले जाओ, जो ना समझ में आए forget it, right? लेकिन जो लेके जाओ, एक भी चीज लेके जाओ यहां से, अगर एक चीज लेके जाओ, उसको implement करो, right? Because there is a Harvard study which shows कि जब हम कोई वीडियो सुनते हैं, it's a study, तो वीडियो के बाद लोगों से पूछो कि आपको इस सब्जेक्ट के बारे में कितना आता है, आपको लगता है क्या आंसर होता है? The answer is their confidence has gone up by 50 to 70%, right? But experiment यहीं stop नहीं होता है. They also, after that, जो भी वीडियो था, they asked people to perform that task, right? And without application, क्या guess कर सकते हैं? This is a published study, आप check कर सकते हैं. What was the improvement in performance? Guess what? Zero. All right? So ज्ञान का कोई मीनिंग नहीं है जब तक आप उसको करनी में ना कन्वर्ट करो. But coming back to your question, see, I'll tell you a story about this lady called Campbell McBride, and we're talking about the 1950s, 60s, and this lady was an MD, and she had a huge shock in her life because उनका अपना बेटा turned out to be autistic, right? So imagine a shock for a mother. कि mother she's a doctor and she writes in that book कि मैं कुछ कर नहीं पाई इसके बारे में, and that led her to study this subject over and over and over again, and that's when she found something amazing, and that is published in a book called GAPS, the Gut and Psychology Syndrome, which is today a recognized sort of a syndrome. The syndrome says that what's happening in your head here is, can you imagine, very, very related to what's happening in your gut. इससे ज़्यादा नहीं जाएंगे अभी, but it's got to do with the bacterium in your gut. So छोटा सा clue है, क्योंकि जो हम खाना खाते हैं, वो यहाँ से gut में जाता है, process होता है, and guess सबसे पहले वो energy कहाँ जाती है? यहाँ. So अगर वो processing ठीक नहीं है, so what will happen to your psychology, your mental health, the the issues that we are talking about. So simplistic सा answer लगता है. I thought I'll touch upon this कि if you want to take care of your head, तो अपने शीशे में अगर मैं अपने हेड को देखूंगा तो कोई फायदा नहीं होगा, right? Pay attention to what you eat, right? And if you can read this book, it's a very old book, but it is worth reading. Now, Chaitanya asked ki, where should you draw the line between, कि भाई मेरा mental concern मेरा अपना है versus I broadcast it to the world or whatever. So ये मेरी अपनी परिभाषा है कि, and this doesn't apply just to mental stress. What it is about is, आप कोई भी काम करते हैं लाइफ में, there are two nuskhas if I tell you, they don't apply here, they apply everywhere. The first is, what is it that you do which you shouldn't do? And the second is, what is it that you shouldn't do which you do? Right? और अगर आप इन दोनों चीजों को फॉलो करते हैं, you will get the answer to everything. लॉजिकल लगता है? वो क्या है जो आप करते हैं जो नहीं करना चाहिए, और वो क्या है जो आप नहीं करते जो करना चाहिए. Now, coming to this question of yours, अगर आप अपने साथ जो भी करते हैं related to your own mental health, trauma, so long as it doesn't impact the rest of the world, it's fine. आप जो मर्जी करिए, थेरेपिस्ट के पास जाइए, अपने घर में एक्सप्रेस करिए, अपने फैमिली मेंबर्स वगैरह वगैरह वगैरह. लेकिन अगर आप एक्सपेक्ट करते हैं कि मेरे ड्रामा की वजह से दुनिया चेंज हो जाएगी, it will not happen. Firstly, so you will be disappointed, and secondly, I don't think you have the right to ask the rest of the world to change because of you. वहां पे आपको लाइन ड्रॉ करनी पड़ती है. You deal with your trauma yourselves. You don't wear it like a badge here. You do not expect the world to do things differently for you. If they do it, be thankful for it. But if they don't expect it. That's what I would say.
Hello, yeah, this is fine.
Same question is for you. So how can they focus more on their mental health?
Chaitanya, it's a very important, pertinent question doing rounds for last 20 years. And if it is doing rounds for 20 years, then we are nowhere near solving the problem. I look at it from Indian philosophy, and that is what my book, The Mind Kitchen, is about. Bhagavad Gita chapter 6 says, every person is born with 3 gunas. What are those 3 gunas? Tamas, Rajas, Sattva. These gunas decide your mental ability. And gunas also depend on what? Which my friend Colonel Prem has said, depends on the kind of food that you have. आप जिस तरह का अन्न ग्रहण करते हैं, उस तरह के आपके गुण पैदा होंगे. रजस, तमस, सत्वा. दूसरी बात यह है, मेंटली हमको कुछ प्रॉब्लम है, तो that means it is like laptop having a software. Software has to be protected from malware and virus. We all have our antivirus system in our laptop, yes or no? Therefore, the antivirus system for your mind, which is the mental health, will depend on what is your antivirus system. My study and research for over 30 to 40 years, I've been into mindfulness since I was at the age of 15. I have lived that life. I That's most important because people who observe me, they have a free choice to ask me question and help them. I do. But after my premature retirement in 94, now 30 plus years after retirement, I am into mindful training. That means for your physical health, each one of us is doing physical exercise, nutrition. Now, what about the mind? Is anyone paying attention to the mind? Because the whole world is talking about your mental health. And mental health has a directly related to your mind. How healthy is your mind? Therefore, my recommendation is, as you have your meals and exercises regularly practice mindful meditation. It's just a matter of 10 minutes morning, 10 minutes in the evening. Okay? And that will keep you away from all mental health challenges. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And sir, same question goes to you, also asking you another question, that you are a third generation officer, and how has that impacted your life? How has it transformed you?
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me? Jai Hind and good evening, and it's lovely to be here. I won't dwell on the first question because the two gentlemen have, I think, spoken very eloquently on it. All I'll say is that the dynamism of life comes from great stillness. And today, there is so much of distraction that all of us face. That stillness is what is required in each of our lives. Colonel Prem and me, we were together in the NDA, and through the NDA and then subsequent trainings and the uniform service, the support system that you had, we all joined the NDA as boys but came out as men. The entire environment, the fervor, the camaraderie, the ability to reach out. Even today, if I reach out to a coursemate of mine who probably passed out in 85, almost 35 years ago, I can blindfoldedly call him up at 2 o'clock at night. We wouldn't have met for 35 years, but I can still call him up at 2 o'clock at night and tell him, listen, I need this help from you. So that's the kind of bonding that you form. And that, I think, helps considerably. So it's never wrong to reach out. And to deal with it, like I said, they both have spoken about it, but you require the quietude and the calmness of life. What has the army taught me? I am what I am because of the army. I think the biggest learning has been culture, what we call the spirit de corps. And I'll give you a few examples. You know, in the Kargil War, have you all heard of the Kargil War? In the Kargil War, we lost a young officer for every peak that was captured. Every peak. Even today, operations in Kashmir are led by young officers, not very different from you, 22, 23 years old. They don't have 30 years of experience and 30 years of exponential learning. It's the culture that drives them. You know, the ratio of officers to men in the army is about 1:45 or 50, depending on the regiment that you come. But the casualties that happen is 1:6. That means for every 6 Jawan who die, 1 officer dies. It happened in Kargil. That is the culture I'm talking about. Consistency. Leadership. I'll tell you that the army consistently performs. I'm not talking about individual consistency because there are a lot of people who will talk about that, but I'll talk about organizational consistency. Where does that consistency come from? We have everything being thrown at us. In Kargil, you had the enemy, you had the heights, you had the cold, you had treacherous slopes. It comes from consistently preparing for war. It comes from consistently having that winning factor, the battle winning factor, that is the attitude. The Pakistanis had everything going for them. They had occupied the heights 6 months before we even got to know about it. They had entrenched themselves. They had logistic supplies. They had made their plans. But what they did not encounter, what they did not fathom, was the attitude of the Indian Army and the young officers who were leading the men on near-death attacks. They thought that these peaks are unconquerable. And for the young officers, there was no stopping. Even death was a small sacrifice for the victory that they were achieving. So that is the attitude that you carry, and that is the attitude that I have learned. Gut feel. You've all heard of gut feel, right? Have you heard of a book called The Blink, which talks about gut feel? As young children, have you ever heard of babies getting hurt? They never get hurt because there is the force of nature inside them. There's a gut feel, right? There is something intuitive. Whenever they encounter danger, they'll get into a ball. You've never heard, very rarely do you hear of a small baby getting injured. As you grow up, that intuition inside you is killed by our education, by society, by friends, by family. I'll give you an example. You go out to buy a shirt or go to buy a dress, you go into the shop and you see something and you say, that's what I want. But then your mind says, it can't be so easy. Hey, come on, look around. You go to another shop and then another shop, and finally, in the end of the evening, you end up buying something you didn't want. And you go back home and you say, जो पहला shirt था ना, वही चाहिए था मेरे को. जो पहली साड़ी थी ना, वही चाहिए थी मेरे. That's the gut feel. But your mind refuses to accept it. A girl is standing on a railway station. There are 30 pairs of eyes watching her. But there is that one eye which she feels uncomfortable about. Right? We've all felt that. That's gut feel. I'll tell you a story of Kashmir and how it saved my life. We were in Kupwara. We were doing this coordinate search operations. And as a young officer, I was leading a team. So normally what you do is when you do a coordinate search operation where militants are hidden, you put a cordon around the village so no one escapes. You put 2 cordons so that if they escape from one, they get into another. Then you divide the village and you do a house-to-house search, the most difficult thing to do. Because every time you enter a room, you're going to get shot, or there is the probability of you getting shot. So I was with 4 of my men and we were going room to room. The first room, someone entered. The second room, another guy entered. The third room was my chance to enter. It was the longest corridor with doors. Like it happens in Kashmir, most of the houses are wooden. As I came close to the door, the hair on my nape stood up. Even today, I can feel the buzz on my neck. Without thinking, without realizing, it was as if my body was aflame. I fired my AK-47. The first 2 bullets were fired in such quick succession, even before the door had opened, that they got embedded in the door itself, into the wood. It was a thick door. By the time I opened the door, the second burst went through. There was an Afghan militant sitting at the other end, and he had his weapon up and he was bringing it down. It was a nanosecond difference, a nanosecond. In fact, one of his bullets went through my hat, and I carried it for quite a few years, the hole in my hat. It was not an act of bravado. I'm just trying to tell you the gut feel. He fired, I fired. I fired nanoseconds before him. And I fired because something told me there is danger inside. So that intuition, which probably I had killed through my growing up years, which all of us kill because we're constantly Instagramming, and Snapchatting, and on Facebook, we kill it. You need to grow that intuitive feeling. If something feels wrong, it is wrong. If something feels right, if the person walks up to you and shakes your hand and you say, there's something wrong about him, you don't have to know about this person 10 years down, कि मैं जानती थी इसके अंदर कुछ गड़बड़ है. If you feel it's wrong, it's wrong. I'll tell you another example. We were again in a coordinate search operation. I'm sorry if I'm taking too much time. We were interrogating a guy. Okay? He was supplying arms. It was about 30 minutes and we kept asking him and he wouldn't answer. And we were 4 of us standing at about 11:30 at night. And we were asking him for the presence of militants in his village and he wouldn't answer. And he was one of the guys who used to help spread the weapons and all that. Suddenly, after about 35 minutes, my radio operator who was standing next to me, a Jawan, hit me with his elbow in my stomach and threw me on the ground and jumped over me. And at that precise moment, a hail of bullets came up from top. There were 3 militants hiding in a loft just about 6 inches above us. For 40 minutes they were watching us. And he just got a gut feel that there is something wrong. That burst came within inches of my foot and his thigh. We of course shot them down. 2 instances which kind of saved my life. Gut feel. And the third was of course leadership. Leadership doesn't always come from people above you or people who are giving you talks on it. It also comes from very grassroots levels. I was in Siachen as a young officer. We were on a post at 19,000 feet. The way to the post was along a track which could be seen by the Pakistanis. So we used to traverse that valley up when it was dark at night. After about 7 months on the post at 19,000 feet, there was a relief happening and there were some troops climbing up. It was about 2:30 at night and suddenly the cloud cover cleared and the moon came up. It was like a floodlit area and it was beautiful. If it was not for the Pakistani, it was a very, very romantic sight. So as the cloud cover cleared and the moon came up, we saw these 15 people walking up and the air burst started. Because there you don't have nose impact shells bursting, you have air bursts. So we had someone who fell down and his spine opened up. There was someone who got injured in the leg. I was standing there, I was about 21, 22 years old. And I told myself, I can't see these men getting killed before me. I won't probably be able to live for the rest of my life. It was not an act of bravado, believe me. I was scared, but I wasn't ready to face my conscience and my guilt for the rest of my life. I went into my cabin, wore my crampons, which are those sharpeners that you wear below your feet to traverse the snow. And there was a Havaldar standing next to me called Havaldar Mahinder Singh. He had 3 children. I wasn't married. He had a village, he had a family in the village, old parents. He had seen life. I had seen nothing. And he told me, he said, "Saab, मैं आपको अकेला नहीं जाने दूंगा. अगर आप जाओगे तो मैं आपके साथ जाऊंगा." Believe me, I touched divinity that day. I saw God. No moment in my entire career after that, or in the corporate world where I became a CEO of a major company, was equal to that moment. No amount of riches or wealth will ever give me that moment. I sat down on a rock for another 5 seconds. I wanted to savor that moment for the rest of my life. I said, this moment is never going to come back to me. We ran down, we pulled those people up, one of the guys died, we had to keep putting him, shooting painkillers through him through the night, he died. We had to drag him down to a helipad next day morning. But the point I'm trying to make is leadership comes to you from everywhere that you look for and leaves you with such stunning impressions, and you need to get hold of those things and carry it for the rest of your life. These are the moments that have changed my life, and that's why I am where I am.
Thank you so much, sir. And I can see like your eyes are really watery right now. And the kind of experiences you've had while saving the country, we cannot even imagine. You know, I'm having pure goosebumps while listening to your stories. So now my next question is for Sunil sir. So you have written this book. So you've authored this book called The Power of Conscious Human Patterns, जिसमें आपने सक्सेस के बारे में बात की है. And Three Idiots फिल्म सबने देखी है? Everyone has watched the film. तो उसके अंदर ना एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज उन्होंने बताई है कि सक्सेस के पीछे मत भागो, एक्सीलेंस के पीछे भागो. एंड आपने भी ना सक्सेस को बहुत ब्यूटीफुली अपनी किताब में डिफाइन किया है. यू टॉक्ड अबाउट सबकॉन्शियस माइंड एंड कॉन्शियस माइंड. सो सर, कैन यू प्लीज टॉक अबाउट योर बुक कि किस तरीके से हमारी सबकॉन्शियस माइंड और हमारा जो कॉन्शियस माइंड है ये सक्सेस को इम्पैक्ट करता है.
Hello. Can you hear me?
कैन यू हियर सर? नो.
No.
सर यू कैन अगेन.
Thanks. All right. Can you hear me now? Okay. So, आपसे एक सवाल पूछना चाहूंगा. आपको कभी किसी ने जिंदगी में बोला है कि बेटा या बेटी मेहनत करो? हाँ तो हाथ उठाओ. राइट? थैंक यू. हाथ नीचे. आपको कभी किसी ने बोला है यार शौक वॉक छोड़ो, ठीक है, फोकस करो? और हम सब बेवकूफ बने हैं, एक दिन आएगा जो मजे करोगे. राइट? बोला ऐसे कभी? तो हाथ उठाओ एक बार फिर. ऑलराइट, डाउन. व्हाट इफ आई टोल्ड यू इन ऑल सीरियसनेस exactly the opposite of this? And what if I prove to you that that is the truth? And it took me 20 years for my stupid mind to realize that truth. Even though I had used that philosophy almost for my entire life, लेकिन उसको समझ पाना में 20 साल लग गए, because it was counterintuitive. And what I am telling you is, what if I tell you that nature पागल नहीं हो सकती है? Or is nature पागल? Look around you. Is it crazy? No. So nature is so perfect, but then why did it make success so difficult? कुछ गड़बड़ नहीं दिखता है? और कहीं ऐसा तो नहीं है कि हम ही गलती कर रहे हैं और सक्सेस एक्चुअली बहुत आसान है? राइट? सो आईड लाइक टू टेल यू अ लिटिल स्टोरी. अपनी नहीं बताऊंगा. इफ यू वांट टू रीड माय स्टोरी, here you are, you can read that. टाइम मिलेगा तो I don't want to take that much time. So there is this guy called Stephen Dunier. आप YouTube में देखिए, you will find his videos, many of them. Now this guy, when he was in college in the US, everybody understands a little bit of Hindi, right? Okay, if somebody doesn't, then I'll stick to English, otherwise English. तो ये बंदा जो था ना, इसको एक प्रॉब्लम थी, और वो प्रॉब्लम हम में से बहुत सारे लोगों को होती है. उसको थोड़ी ऐसे एक्सट्रीम थी. He could not focus for more than 5 to 10 minutes at a time, right? And what are your parents telling you all the time? बेटा फोकस करो, 40 मिनट तो बैठ लो, घंटा तो कर लो, फिर खेलने चले गए, etc. Right? So, but this guy did something different. He was always doing very badly in education. But look at the brilliant solution he applied. At one point, he got frustrated with all the advice which the world had given him. All the advice. पढ़ो, ये करो, वगैरह वगैरह. He said, भाड़ में गया. I will do जिसमें मैं अच्छा हूं. I can focus for 5 to 10 minutes. उसके बाद पहले उसने अपना सारा सिलेबस, हर सब्जेक्ट को 5 से 10 मिनट के स्लॉट्स में ब्रेक किया. So he writes कि जैसे मैंने कुछ पढ़ना होता था सब्जेक्ट, तो मैं उसको चैप्टर में नहीं तोड़ता था, सेक्शन में भी नहीं तोड़ता था, पेज में भी नहीं तोड़ता था. मैं देखता था कितने सेंटेंस में 5 से 10 मिनट में पढ़ सकता हूं. And I would read that for 5 to 10 minutes and then take a break till my focus comes back, and then I'll do it for 5 to 10 minutes. Guess what happened? He went from being Charlie to straight A's in the university, passed out as one of the top students, went on to do law. US में law करना आसान नहीं होता. Became a hotshot lawyer, became an entrepreneur, became a very wealthy individual, broke multiple world records, learned at least, if I am not wrong, 5 to 6 languages, and not just that, learned to fly, learned to skydive. I cannot finish the kind of things which he did in his life by doing what? by making things easy for himself. So are you understanding the connection? The question is, जब हम किसी और को solution देते हैं, right? दुनिया क्यों कहती है, हमारे पेरेंट्स क्यों कहते हैं कि बेटा पढ़ लो, मेहनत करो? Because 95% or 90% of the world is copying the other 95% and following the wrong methods like a monkey. If I may, आप में से कोई नहीं, अपनी तरफ ही पॉइंट करता हूं, अगर ये मंकी है, इसको देख के मैं करता हूं, मैं भी यही करूंगा. अरे भाई, ये मंकी आपके जैसा नहीं है, इसका फिंगरप्रिंट डिफरेंट है, इसका आई स्कैन डिफरेंट है, इसका फेस डिफरेंट है. 3 लाख सालों में ऐसा मंकी पैदा ही नहीं हुआ है, राइट? तो फिर आप इसको, आप इतने यूनिक हो, why you following others? You have to figure out, what am I built for? And if nature is perfect, whatever I am built for should be easy for me, right or wrong? And when things are easy, do people have to tell you, beta mehnat karo? सोचो, सचिन तेंदुलकर की मम्मी उसको कह रही हैं, बेटा और क्रिकेट खेलो. नो, शी मस्ट हैव बीन टेलिंग, बेटा पागल हो गए हो, पूरा काला हो गया है, सुबह 4 बजे निकल जाता है, 10 बजे भी आता है, ब्रेकफास्ट भी नहीं करता है, बेटा कम खेला कर. और इसी टेलिंग हिम कि बेटा मोर खेला कर. So when you love something, when you are built for something, is it easy for you or is it tough? Give me the answer. Easy, tough, right? Now Einstein को फुटबॉलर कौन सा है? मेसी. आइंस्टाइन को फुटबॉल फील्ड में डला दो and let's see how well he plays football. Easy or tough for him? Tough. Okay, मेसी को बोलो बेटा ये पढ़ के समझा दे ये क्या कह रहा है आइंस्टाइन. Easy or tough for him? So is physics tough or is football tough, or is it that one is built for physics and the other guy is built for football? So I could go on and on. All but the book is about, and this is scientific, because our world is patterned. Everything look around you is patterned. यहाँ पे so many human beings are sitting, all are patterned. सबकी 2 आंखें, 1 नाक, 2 कान. Show me a person जिसके नहीं है, right? Unless you are, of course, physically disabled. So we have sun, moon, stars, planets, galaxies, atoms, molecules, so many things. Everything is patterned. In fact, humans are pattern recognizers and creators, and underlying the biggest of your pursuits, your relationships, your business, your wealth, your let's say daily pursuits, uske niche patterns hain, and those patterns are really, really simple. If you can figure out those patterns, which are root causes, and if you can make them fun for yourself, you cracked success. That's what I will say. If you allow me, I'll give you an example. So I had an eyesight problem. So instead of tossing a ball, which is very boring, I started learning how to juggle. Juggling was fun, eyesight fit ho gayi. I had a problem with my knees. Instead of doing some vague stuff, I sorted out my shoe heels, because bent hote the. 4,000 to 5,000 times you are putting your foot on the ground. So knees kaise theek honge, right? I used to get fatigued. I started doing yoga and started applying oil in my nostrils, and uske baad see your energy go from here to here. So I guess I have conveyed my message. Thank you.
Hello. Okay. So now proceeding to the next question. Now, if I talk about our roots, one should never forget their roots, क्योंकि हमारी identity हमारे roots से ही होती है. And sir, you've authored this book called Guns and Glories about Rajputana Chronicles, and you've mentioned about the history, the story, the events that have happened, and you've mentioned them very beautifully. But again, amongst thousands of stories, you've narrowed down certain stories. So how did you narrow down, and what is exactly in your book? What stories have you told to the audience, to the readers?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Very interesting. This book of mine, Guns and Glories, is almost 6 years old. Yeah, and of course I had requested the Mind and Kitchen, but nevertheless, Guns and Glories is very dear to my mind. I have grown up listening to the stories about my ancestors. Luckily, we had a Haveli in Udaipur, and our staff used to make me sleep when I was young. My mother passed away very early. So they used to all narrate. The staff was also like 50 years old, 60 years, 70 years old. They used to narrate stories of ancestors. And finally, when I hung my boots in the Navy, I said, I must pen down these stories for people to remember for generations. People to remember for generations. So to write this book, I researched for 22 years. 22 years. To find my genealogy, that's one part of it. Right from after the Prithviraj Chauhan empire broke, then some Chauhans came to Rajasthan, and from there, the descendants, I am one of them, 42nd, right. But nevertheless, there was a time in the history when people embraced Jainism in something like 14th century in my family. So from Rajput Chauhan, we embraced Jainism. But if you look at it for last 600 to 700 years, they have been the prime ministers, rulers of different states in Rajasthan itself. So one story that I wish to share with you over here, what you have said, is during Akbar's time, Badshah Akbar's time, I'm sure all of you have heard the Hindus, the temples, the people who practice other faiths other than Islam were either slaughtered or their places of worship was destroyed. There was one person who was the Diwan of Bikaner at that time. He was Karamchand Bachawat. He is my direct ancestor. And he also happens to be Samdhi. Samdhi, you know? Means daughter and son married of Bhamasha in Udaipur. So Karamchand was a staunch Jain, the save politician, the very intelligent strategist. So to save Bikaner kingdom as such, he made friendship with Akbar. Can you imagine that? I know, but it was diplomatic. Friendship with Akbar, and he, during his time, one Muslim Senapati in Saurashtra and Gujarat raided many Jain temples and stole away those precious idols. Jain temple idols are made of Navratna, gold, silver. They're not like marble statues. They were stolen away, being taken to Agra fort. All that Karamchand Bachawat, Diwan of Bikaner, said he used to go to his court. Akbar from Bikaner used to go to Delhi and tell him, Jahanpana, आपके सैनिकों ने हमारे मंदिरों को तोड़ा है, वहाँ की स्टैचूज लेके गए हैं और अभी उन्होंने आगरा फोर्ट में रख दी है, उनको गलाकर पिघलाकर उसमें से माल निकालेंगे. He said, but Akbar used to always address him very politely. Karamchand जी, फरमाइए मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ? आप बाइज्जत ये सारी स्टैचूज वापस रिटर्न करो. Those 1100 statues were returned to Bikaner, and today they are kept in the basement of Chintamani Mandir. That is a great, remarkable achievement. He achieved it not by fighting against Akbar, but by cooperating and winning over his confidence. There are so many stories. I'm sure, has anyone heard of a boat ride from Lahore to Srinagar? किसी ने सुना है लाहौर से अनंतनाग तक बोट में जा सकते हैं? Yes, it was possible. Amazing. And he said, Karamchand, तुम ये मेरे लिए organize करो. By then, Akbar had become half Hindu, half Jain, only 10% Muslim left. Karamchand organized his ship visit by the rivers Ravi, Chenab, Indus, all the way up to Anantnag. Can you imagine what was the purpose of this visit? The Afghan Sultan Ayub used to invariably keep attacking Mughal Sultanate in the northeastern part. Akbar was fed up. He tried all his best, sent his Mughal Senapatis, couldn't succeed. They went in a boat and the Karamchand was told to fight with him and bring him or kill him. Don't even have to bring him. But Karamchand was such a great diplomat. What you see today, Jai Shankar, our foreign minister, he went to Ayub, Sultan Ayub of Afghanistan by road because the boat had already reached Anantnag. Made friends, peace treaty with him, captured him, brought him to Akbar, and he had to kneel down. Thereafter, not one instance of Afghan people raiding Mughal Sultanate. The stories are endless, but I can go on. But my direct ancestors were, for 200 years, they were the prime ministers of Udaipur, Mewar, and they have successfully ruled that place. The last incident I can tell you is in 1887, Udaipur to Marwar Junction, the railway line was laid by him. In spite of great agitation and resistance from the trader community. If the railway line comes, what will happen? Their carriages and trade by mules and other things will stop. This is what happened to Jaisalmer Airport. Do you know the story of Jaisalmer Airport? Bikaner Airport? Incidentally, Jaisalmer Airport, the architect was my niece. She made it. For 4 years, it was unused because the trader and political lobby was so strong. They thought, अगर हवाई जहाज आ गया तो हमारा टैक्सी का धंधा बंद. So I'm very proud of my heritage, and this book talks about all those things. One last incident I want to tell you. The various universities, history professors, when they saw this book, of course I send them as complimentary. It's this coffee table book, by the way. It's expensive. If you dare to, there are only one copy available here to purchase today. And history professors have gone through it and said they have recommended to the 6 PhD students as a referral manual because I took 22 years and authentic research has been carried out. After that, another request came, मेरे सारे बच्चे हिंदी भाषी हैं, तो आप इसका हिंदी में अनुवाद करो. तो what you see below, Parakram or Parampara, just published 1 year back, is in Hindi. Parakram or Parampara does not only talk about the stories of lesser known nobles and their untold stories, but also about the customs, the religion, the traditions, how you wear your clothes, what kind of havelis and architecture is concerned. जन्म के समय कौन कौन सी ये संस्कार होते हैं, सूर्य पूजन होता है, माता को किस रंग के कपड़े पहनाए जाते हैं, किस तरह से संबोधित करते हैं, ये सब इस किताब में एडिशनल है. ये किताब 400 पेज की ऊपर है. Again, I researched for 4 years. So the stories will go on and on, But the most important stories is what I told you about bringing back the statues from the hold of Akbar to Bikaner, which are still in the Bikaner basement of Bikaner temple today. Thank you everyone.
Thank you so much, sir. And I believe you've put a lot of research and hard work into the book. And definitely, if you have any questions, so after, like when you'll be signing the book, the people can ask you questions, right? So, Colonel Ashutosh, sir, I have the next question for you. Again, we have talked about two amazing books. The third book is yours, and we are going to talk about it. Your book is Rambo, and it talks about the story of Major Sudhir Walia. So I just want to know that you wrote about him. What inspired you to write about this particular person?
So, it's very difficult to straight away tell you why I started writing this book, but couple of points that really moved me about this story is, and if you ask me, who was Sudhir Walia, Major Sudhir Walia? अगर अर्जुन की एक दृष्टि हो, अभिमन्यु का साहस हो, कर्ण की निष्ठा हो और मित्रता हो, परशुराम का क्रोध हो और राम की समझ हो, तो वो थे सुधीर वालिया. He was a man driven. He led the last attack in Kargil. You know, he was the ADC to General Malik when he was the chief of the army staff and the Kargil war had broken out. And he requested to go back to Kargil. And when he was asked, why do you want to go back to Kargil? He had a glamorous posting as a young captain, sitting there in the South Block in Delhi, meeting, going down to the Rashtrapati Bhavan. And he said, my men are fighting there, I need to be there with them. He led the last attack and captured Zulu Top, which is the last peak captured in Kargil, without acclimatization. He reached there and within 10 days he was leading the attack. A month after that, he led another raid on a militant hideout, got hit about 6 times, twice in the jaw, in the chest and in the abdomen. He killed 4 of them and he died. He got an Ashok Chakra, he's a Sena Medal bar. But the story is not just about him. You know, when I recreated the story and I spoke to the men who were with him and I asked them, I mean, why did you do what you did? And you know, the reply I got was a disarming reply saying that anyone would do it. I was just there at the right time and the right place. It gave me goosebumps because men who had performed unthinkable acts of courage, mind-numbing courage and bravery, could be so casual about what they had achieved. So I spoke to each of them and we recreated those stories over and over again. I'll tell you 2 stories, very short, I'll keep it short, and that will tell you what Sudhir Walia was about. He comes from a small town in Himachal called Palampur, and I'll talk about Palampur a little later. He was in an operation in Kashmir, and they had laid an ambush in which 2 militants escaped from that ambush, and he started running. This was somewhere in the Pir Panjal mountains, and he was running after one of them. He shot the first guy, and he was running after the second guy. Now, it was a scrubby area with a lot of rocks, and this militant rushed into a cave in the mountain. It was a very narrow cave. And Sudhir, in his exuberance, rushed into the cave with him. There was no space. It was a narrow cave, and he had to crawl in. When he went in, that guy had already lifted his weapon up and was pointing it at Sudhir. And Sudhir didn't have the time to lift his weapon up because he had to almost crawl in. He just looked at him and with his eyes he said, "Rakh, Hatiyar rakh!" And he saw his eyes and the fire on his face and he melted. The guy kept his weapon down. He caught him by the collar and dragged him out of the cave. That was Sudhir Walia. That was Sudhir Walia. I'll tell you one more incident. And this is a very unique story. And it always amazes me. So they were in an operation and they were up in the mountains. It got dark. They had spent about 72 hours braving the snow and the wind and everything else, and they were hungry. They came down to a village for the night, and the army trucks were a little away, so those trucks were coming. It was in the middle of the night, and there was a boy crying in the village, and he asked, why is this boy crying? And the boy's father was not well. And the boy was crying because he knew that if the father is not evacuated in time, the father would die. So Sudhir told him, beta, fikr mat karo, hamari gaadi aa rahi hai, usme aapke pitaji ko leke jayenge. And sure enough, the vehicles came, the father was put into the army truck, and along with the soldiers, they came back to the base. The father was taken to a civil hospital and kept there, and he briefed the doctor, please look after him. And the old man survived. Now when he took him to the hospital, Sudhir just kept a hand on the boy's shoulder and said, अगर कभी कुछ आपको कुछ खबर मिले या कोई आपको तंग करे तो मैं यहाँ रहता हूँ, मेरा नाम सुधीर वालिया है, मेरे पास आना. And he forgot about it. 4-5 months happened, he was busy. One day, a soldier comes to him and says, साहब एक लड़का है आपके लिए पूछ रहा है. This कौन लड़का, मैं तो किसी को जानता नहीं. He said, नहीं, एक छोटा बच्चा है 8-9 साल का. So he said, ठीक है बुलाओ. So he called him and he said, जनाब मेरे घर में ना एक militant है और हमारे घर में घुस गया है. अगर आपने मेरे को बताया था कि कुछ होगा तो आप बताना, तो मैं आपको बताने आया हूँ. He was zapped. He says, you're so small and you've brought this information. Anyway, they got the men ready and they launched the operation. They surrounded that particular house of the boy. The operation went on till quite late at night. They finally shot dead that militant. They initially told him to surrender. He fired back. They fired back and got into a firefight. They finally shot him. The moment the militant died, उस गांव में ना एक चीख सुनाई दी and the whole village started crying. So Sudhir felt that कुछ ना कुछ गड़बड़ है. शायद ये बच्चा, ये militant इस गांव का है, इसलिए लोग इतने रो रहे हैं. And then he came out and there was the father and the boy standing over there and they were both crying. So Sudhir went up to that boy and took out some money and he said, बेटा ये रख लो और कुछ और चीज की जरूरत हो तो मेरे को आके मिल लेना. So the boy looked at him and said, जनाब आप ये इसकी क्या कीमत, क्या मोल दे रहे हो आप मेरे को? He said, क्यों? He said, आपने एक जान बचाई थी, मैंने आपको एक जान दी है. जो मरा है वो मेरा बड़ा भाई था. He said, you saved my father's life, but I have given you information of my own brother. So there are such untold stories, but gripping, moving stories which make you ponder on how things can be achieved and can man actually do something like this? Can you actually be called to do something like this? And in the course of the writing, I experienced something very, very different. I explored that space where the will to survive gives way to the idea that death will serve a greater purpose. And that is the space I explored. And that's what got me to write this book.
That's truly inspiring, sir. Thank you so much for sharing the insights with us. And now I have a rapid fire round for you, wherein I will give you a word. Whatever comes to your mind, you have to answer with that. And we have to do this quickly. Okay, so फटाफट से आपने आंसर करना. You don't have to take time, otherwise I think you will be out. Just joking. So your first word is psychology, and Ashutosh sir, आपसे start करेंगे हम. So first word is psychology, and whatever comes to your mind, you have to answer quickly.
Roller coaster.
Okay, sir.
In Vedanta, they say self-awareness.
Okay. So, sir.
Simplicity. Nothing is as complex as it seems.
The second word is anxiety.
Anxiety, fear.
Dreaming about future.
गोली मारो anxiety को. Move on.
This is the best answer. Okay. So one book that you would recommend everyone reads.
The Ride of a Lifetime, Bob Iger. He was the CEO of Disney for 16 years. All of you need to read that book.
Sir.
The one book I would recommend to read is the mind kitchen. It has a lot to do with what is cooking in your kitchen upstairs in your mind. It's different. No Western philosophy, Indian philosophy.
Sunil sir?
I am going to not recommend one book, but I will just mention one name. I Am Okay, You Are Okay by Dr. Thomas A. Harris, MD, and that is going to start you off on a series which will change your life. Those books I have mentioned in this book too.
Right, sir. Next word is mindfulness.
I think I answered this right in the beginning. The dynamism of life comes from great stillness. And a lot of people have spoken about this over and over again. And I'm going to tell you this. And I'm going to go back to what I said, the roller coaster, because I come from an industry, I was CEO of Imagica. And I'll tell you something and you'll find it very interesting. Do you know the roller coaster has no engine? So the roller coaster is taken up to a point through an elevator and then left. So at the point where the speed is zero, the potential energy is the maximum. And then it leashes itself into kinetic energy. And then again goes back to a point of zero where the potential energy is more, and then it falls down into kinetic energy. And so is life. When you are at your stillest, that's when your potential is the maximum.
Right, sir. Captain Pratap, what's your answer?
Mindfulness is nothing but self-awareness. मैं क्या हूँ? ये प्रश्न बहुत बार पूछा गया है. आप कौन हैं? मैं क्या हूँ? You describe it by the clothes you wear, the family you come from, the education you have. Self-awareness is knowing your strengths and weaknesses. Self-awareness is knowing your virtues. Virtues are in your soul, and soul is always pure. But like we give our clothes for laundry next day, similarly the soul has to be nourished and cleaned by mindfulness.
So what's your opinion?
Well, mindfulness, awareness, consciousness, different words, same meaning. जाओ उठो और वो पालो जो कभी खोया ही नहीं था, which means go and find that which you never lost, because all the answers are already with you. Already with you.
Perfect answer. The next word is youth.
Follow your dreams, seize the moment. The world lies at your feet.
And this one is for all the audience present here.
And dream
Sir-
big. Dream big. Don't dream small.
So what's your take?
I agree with my friend Ashutosh. I would add, dream mindfully.
Youth is crazy. Be crazy. Have a ball.
So very crazy, that's the answer. And the next one that is very, very special, the word is India.
Speed and momentum. But we are today in a speed and momentum with the civilizational awakening. And that's where the difference comes from the rest of the world.
To me, the India means change of attitude, not harping on our past civilization. What I can do today is my India.
दिल दिया है जहाँ भी देंगे ऐ वतन तेरे लिए.
Kya baat hai, sir? And the next word is the place where we are sitting right now, Vadodara Literature Festival.
A vehicle for experience and a vehicle for a lifetime of memories.
It means getting an invite to say few words to you.
This fest is a hidden gem. Never knew about it, but now that I know about it, we'll never forget it.
Thank you so much. And the next one is the venue, the beautiful venue we're sitting at, Parul University.
Parul University. I think it is the bedrock of value systems. And what I have seen and heard, I feel incredibly inspired. I wish I had a chance to be in this institution, go back 30 years and probably grow through this.
To me, the Parul University means it is not only the education or the knowledge that you share with your students, it is important to develop a sense of intellect, which is very important today. Knowledge means having plenty of knowledge, you can get a 9 to 5 job. But having intellect means you are able to find solutions to the problem. Therefore, if you read the March newspapers, 3,200 IIT graduates unemployed. Why? They were all 90% and above, but when the employers they want a person who can provide solutions, not the 95% doesn't matter to them. And those 3,200 failed in their interview to answer the company's questions. That is what my dream is. Parul University will and stands for providing intellect more than the knowledge.
Well, totally agreed with my colleagues, but what I noticed here was the warmth and the hospitality. So it seems to be an organization with a heart. Love that.
Thank you so much, sir. And lastly, the organization that, handled everything related to this Vadodara Literature Festival. You have to say something about IIMUN.
So if you ask me in a word, IIMUN and my gut feel, I think it's the catalyst to the civilizational awakening that I'm talking about. It is the nuclear reactor where all of you electrodes are getting energized and recharged and going out over there. So just go out there and blaze your trails and touch glory.
This is maybe a second or third time I'm interacting with Ayman, and the best thing I find about it, they have adopted armed forces culture in ditto. What is armed forces culture? That ladies first, can I help you? If there is an elder or somebody going in the lift, please sir, please madam. And this is what I have observed. Ayman stands for building character among the youth.
Right, sir. Thank you so
Totally
much.
It's a catalyst, and I think it's a catalyst for our crazy youth to, show the path ahead. Such an organization, I think, was needed.